Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsule Cast Week 8. I am your host, DoorGuard. This week I have my lovely guests, Donut and Spoofy. Go ahead and say hello,
Hello.
everybody.
Hello.
Hello,
I'm
hello.
Donut, coach of the Androids.
I am speaking of cold.
For those that may have missed it, basically got two coaches this week, Androids and Cold. So, gonna be a fun week, gonna have a lot going on with that. Are you guys ready to get jumping into this first match here?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is a fun match. Match number one, Rugrats versus Derp. That is correct. You can see it. Derp has their first win. So let's just do a quick recap of how that went down. We had Salza versus Cell Jr. to start, kind of an Eternal Life versus Eternal Life build. Salza takes out Cell Jr. and tags. Goten comes in and after losing a bar, fuses with Trunks. So our first time of seeing Super Saiyan Gotenks this season. Jiro coming in with a new tank build actually managed to take about 3 bars of Gotenks, getting his 40k before going down. The champ comes in and actually surprisingly gets kind of slapped by Gotenks, even taking a 24,000 damage Gotenks ult. Very rare to see that and see it hit. Kibito finally manages to finish off Gotenks and even tags to let Salza come in and finish off the last bar of Aurelie, giving Derp the victory. So I wouldn't necessarily say surprising. I think most people guessed Derp was going to get their win eventually. And I wouldn't even say you could blame it on Rugrats giving it a go with Gotenks. I think it was more of just Jiro showed up. They even took out Hercule. He only did 25k this week. So overall, it was just a great showing. I think they finally got what they were aiming for. So, Donut, what'd you think of this first match?
Very enjoyable. Obviously, I think everyone was hoping Depp would eventually get that win. They've been craving, and fortunately, it happened this week. I think the match, just the individual matchups, kind of went how I thought they would. I thought, until the end. I thought Salza would beat Cell Jr., which did happen. I thought Jiro would actually do very well against Gotenks. I didn't think he would actually win, but I thought in testing, at least for the off season, Jiro did very well in testing against that specific character, um, which I think really helped in him being on the defense build, allowing him to soak up a lot of damage and be able to use his grab to kind of keep him down, Gotenks down. Really helped um, swing the match in Dub's favor. Hercule, not the best performance, but he got hit with a 24,000 ult. So what can you do, right? It's kind of doomed. I think the big surprise this week was actually Kibito. Kibito is actually very impressive for me going up against Aurelie of all characters, who's the demon child, was top 10 in the standings for the individual character ranking. So for him to go up against her and do very well and actually win out that matchup was the big moment saying, oh, Dub can actually do this. Because when Hercule kind of got destroyed by the ult, we all thought that, oh, well, Dub's kind of done. They have Dokaints, they have Aurelie out still, and you have Kibito and a little bit of Salsa. So you kind of felt like it was doomed, but Kibito showing up this week, very impressive with him. So yeah, so what do you think, Spoofy?
I was actually very happy with Derp because if you do not know, I did coach Derp for the past 3 seasons, so I do know my way around the team, and I am happy to see them finally really getting their groove. And I think this really shows that as a whole, they are a strong team, but that sadly in the off season they just weren't able to test as much as they would have liked. And they're testing new things now. They're trying new things. They realize, okay, this stuff isn't working like it used to. Let's try new things. Because Kibito was on his old AI for a lot of this season, but now they're moving on to different stuff, to different AIs, different builds for other characters, and it's working. So while their record doesn't really show it, I do think that Derp is a pretty strong team. And moving forward, I do hope that they will continue this win, not like a win streak, it's one win, but I am hoping that they can really use this as momentum to keep getting wins and really shake up East Kai division. I am pretty shocked with Dr. Jiro. I I had my doubts about him, as a lot of people did, but he did pull
Yep.
his weight. He did exactly what he needed to do, even when their best character ended up getting kind of screwed over. So Good job, Derp. I'm very happy with how they're doing, and I'm looking forward to the direction they're heading in.
Yeah, certainly was just. I mean, of all the things to happen, I don't think anyone would have predicted Aurelie and Hercule both doing 20K. I think that's kind of where
Yeah,
things really were strange. Of all the things you could predict in the match, and that's even in counting in that Dr. Gero did well. I just don't think anybody expected those two characters of all to just kind of fall off. So a
yes.
lot of strange moments, but it led to a very entertaining match, and Derp's been losing by 1 bar for so long. This was kind of a in the comings, as many teams know.
I actually did want to mention I did want to talk about Rugrats because I realized I did not say a thing about them, so I want to remedy that.
Sure.
Rugrats have been a pretty strong team. This season they're right behind my team. They could easily take South Sky. And sadly enough, Cell Jr. just has not been what he used to be, and I feel like that's really hurting them. Because if I remember correctly, he got pretty decimated by Salsa. And while
I think as
Salsa
well.
isn't like
Go ahead.
and while Salsa isn't like an outstanding character, you would hope that Cell Jr. would be able to at least keep somewhat of a even-ish pace with him. And sadly, he just hasn't. But the silver lining of that is that Chi Chi is an FA character, and they can pick her up. So even though
Eh,
Cell Jr. isn't looking the best right now, there is always Chi Chi. And Chi Chi, my girl, they can carry Rugrats. So yeah, that's just my thoughts about them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't say much about Rugrats when I was speaking. Very focused on Dub and obviously getting the first win. But I will say Gotenks is actually, I think it proved it can work. He did his 90 um K plus. If you look at the the time he was on the field, so he showed that he was a promising asset to the team, and I think Rugrats can kind of play around with that character, and I guess in certain matchups, maybe not a key draining member on the opposite side would have been a better matchup for him. But I think there is merit in kind of exploring what you can do with that character going forward into the season, and use it as a wild card scenario in certain matchups.
Yeah, I would say the biggest issue or worry from talking with Toshiro and being a tester is him going into base form Gotenks, which just kind of lacks what is needed, that kind of oomph. But
Of course,
there is always hope. It is a strategy out there. So, do you guys have any final remarks on this match before heading into match 2 then?
that's it for me.
My only last remark would be the open-ended question of how would Rugrats have done had they not gone with the fusing route? Because while Gotenks did do over like the 80k mark, so justifying having Gotenks and Trunks individually, collectively, done more than that. That's just like an open-ended question to think about. Because Kid Trunks and Goten have been very promising for Rugrats, so it's a little like fun thing to think about how the match could have changed a little. Could Hercule have not gotten screwed over by a 24k old? Who knows? But yeah, that's my
Yes.
final thoughts.
Find out next week on week 9 of Dragon Ball Z League. Alrighty then. Let's get on to match number 2 then. Certainly was a great way to start the week. Moving on to match number 2, we have Sentai Squad versus Earth Defenders. Certainly a contentious match as both teams are been having their ups and downs this season. So we had Yamcha versus Ginyu to start, kind of a defense versus attack build. Yamcha actually managed to hit a 14k ult off of just charging up, and he even tags, allowing Krillin to come in, finish Ginyu, and tagging himself when he gets down to about a bar left up against Saiyaman. Base mid Goku finishes off Saiyaman with hitting a 17k Spirit Bomb and then a follow-up 10k 3 times Kamehameha. Birder comes in, finishes off base mid Goku, but gets taken out by Tien pretty handily. Tien tags and lets Krillin finish off Jace, giving Earth Defenders the win. So, unfortunately for Sentai, their squad just kind of didn't show up and do what they needed to do to get this match in their favor. I don't think it was a bad showing by any regard, but Earth Defenders showing they're still a strong team. But hey, Sentai made all the members come out and even made them all have to kind of do something. So even though there was a little overwhelming health in the end, they certainly still pushed Earth Defenders. So, Donut, what do you think of this match here?
I was surprised. I wasn't surprised about the result of the match, but kind of how the match played out. I think Earth Defenders kind of is a bad matchup for Sentai. I say that because Sentai is a very clashing heavy team. That's how they get a lot of the stuff going, and comboing into it, off the clash win. And Earth Defenders also has Yamcha, and they have Krillin, they have Mid Vegeta, who didn't come in, but still, they have characters who can do well in clashes, and excel at that. So they kind of matched up very evenly with them. And then it was just simply the matter of tagging 3-0 over there in that respect. And then really no one actually was very flashy in regards to Earth Defenders, like say the highest is 50,000, right? So it's not a whole lot going on there. But for Sentai, you look at Berta and you're like, oh, well, that's not bad at all, right? And you see, you know, that 62,000, you're like, oh, you're doing very well, you're doing good. Even with Captain Ginyu doing 38, you still think, well, that's over 2 characters, you're doing fantastic. Jace not having a great performance and Saiyaman not having a great performance really kind of just was the anchor. There's basically the ball and chain for Sentai in this match. And Jace has had a very lackluster season, so I don't know if it's a AI change or build change, but I think that is the main problem child right now for Sentai. But everyone else has the capability to do that 40k plus, that 50,000 in some cases. So I just think there was a matchup issue in this one. If I had to highlight anyone on the Earth Defenders, I'd say for me it would probably be Mid Goku with the ultimate and the B2, and then I'd say Yamcha with his ultimate. Those are the two that kind of stood out to me. So yeah, what do you think, Spooofy?
I think it was a pretty, sadly, an unfortunate match for Sentai. They just did not get on the right foot. Ginyu kind of had a hard time with Yamcha. Saiyaman, who's been overall looking pretty promising for Sentai, kind of got the Hercule treatment and got screwed over by an ult. And then Berter probably did the best he's done all season, I think. He was really aggressive. I don't recall if he hit with any B2s, like his build in 10s.
He hit with one. One of 5.
Only one. Which is unfortunate, but I feel like had Jace done anything that Sentai had intended him to do, they definitely could have actually won the match if they had played the tag game and had Jace done what he's built to do. Which sadly, this entire season, he kind of hasn't. He's been the new Goldo, to be completely honest, which is sad. Because historically, Berter and Jace have been Ginyu / Sentai's best. Now they're at the bottom, struggling. While it's Saiyaman, Saiyawoman, and Captain Ginyu trying to, on a general week-to-week basis, carry the team in a match. Because of those two are just struggling in almost all of their matches. So I feel like once they figure Jace out and Berter can continue this good performance, I feel like they'll be pretty solid. I feel like they will be a contending force in South Kai. And then Edie, sorry, I almost forgot about Edie again. But I'm happy for them that Krillin did his job, because as of late, it feels like we haven't seen the same Krillin we have in previous seasons, the overly aggressive melee dominant force that he used to be. So it was nice to see him do good. And it's also nice to see Mid Goku after his, I think he came in one of the first weeks he ever came in this season. I think he came in last and did like 5k, which ruined his stats. But he's been doing really good as of late. He's hitting his ults, he's hitting his B2s. He almost killed half my entire team when we faced them. So good for ED. They're honestly one of the biggest consistent threats to face. So good on them.
Yeah, certainly a few interesting things going on. Berter and Jace were on new builds. Berta was on a new super build, Jace on a new key build, so they were certainly still experimenting with those two, and certainly some goods and some bads there. And you know what's funny here is Earth Defenders are 5-3, and that's last place in Kai. So everybody else is 6-2. So it shows that West Kai's a little bit insane right now, on that Earth Defenders, being as terrifying as they are still technically not the best in their division. So there's a lot to go on, and 2-6 for Sentai is unfortunate, but they are certainly nowhere near out, because we have seen some great sparks. And Woman being kind of their near elite member each week, being out this week, shows that they can still put in a decent performance. But yeah, when she comes back in, they're going to be a threat. Well, Donut, Spoofy, did you guys have any final remarks you wanted to add, or you guys ready to get on to match number 3?
I'm good.
I think I'm good too. Hopefully, Sentai will be able to pick themselves. They are not out of the playoffs. They can easily
Oh
make
yeah,
it in.
definitely.
Their division's set to still let them to get in. Alrighty
Mhm.
then, on to match number 3. We have Androids versus GT. Man, I wish we just knew an Android supporter to talk to. Alright, starting it off, we had a Super Saiyan 3 GT Goku versus 16, two heavy melee class fighters. Starting it off, GT Goku actually gets down to about 1 bar in tags after doing negligible to 16. Pan comes in, attempts to take out 16, but just gets absolutely grabbed to death, allowing GT Goku to come back in after her death. And sorry about that, lost my train of thought. Super Saiyan 4, Vegeta, and Cell end up coming in after GT Goku dies. 16 finally goes down, but the damage is kind of already done. 2-on-3, and a 15k Cell ult almost instantly off his savior coming in was just a little too much for Vegeta, and he ends up going down. So now you have Shin Shenron basically needing an elite performance to take this back, and he puts in some decent work, as you can see here, but it just wasn't quite enough, especially when Cell tags, having Super 17 come in, and he actually tags back, letting Cell finish off Sin. So Androids win without having their last member, Android 19, hit the field. Android 16 having a fantastic start, kind of giving him a lead that was just a little too much to come back from. Really, it was just unfortunate that Pan could not quite get any of her supers off. If she could have gotten a few things to connect, that might have been a different match. But congratulations to Android on taking the win. But both teams are still very much in contention in their divisions. So, Donut, how'd you feel about your team's performance this week?
Very pleased. It went exactly as planned. With 16 starting, we knew if we got any momentum at all, it would kind of snowball in our favor. But that was still a question, considering GT Goku has a fast melee, and that kind of does well against it sometimes. But being the child characters, they take a little extra more damage, right, with the negative innate defense there. And so yeah, so everyone did the put. Super 17 at the 34,000 still did his put. He won his clash. He did 2v2s. Did what he had to do, right? I don't think there's anyone I can say, oh, this was a problem at any point in the match. I think everything went smooth sailing. Now for GT, obviously it's the opposite, right? After the first 10 seconds of the match, you kind of had an impending doom almost. But Sin Shenron, that was fantastic from him. He did 40,000, and I think the problem this week for him, I think he had like the possibility to do like a 60,000, and the 3 of 5B2s, majority of them, if not all of them, were the trap shooters, right? In the past weeks, it was more of the blazing storms, right? That instant 9,000 damage off him, and it was unfortunate that he got the wrong B2 this time, right? In a sense. But if there's a bright spot for GT, it is Sin Shenron, the star player this season. And yeah, overall, I was very happy with the match. So not much else to say from me. What do you think, Spoofy?
Well, going in, from what I recall, the coach of GT said that they didn't expect a win, or that it would just be a very difficult win to get against androids, which is why they did bench Baby. And I just feel like if Baby had been in and they had led with him, they would have probably had a much better start because Baby is a pretty good, pretty great character, and he does not get destroyed necessarily by Big Boy 16 because Big Boy 16 has that melee damage, and GT Goku just kind of died. Pan just kind of got that she got roughed up. SSJ 4 Vegeta has not been the best, and he got roughed up too by 16. And I just I understand their strategy, but it was just pretty unfortunate with how the match actually ended up playing out for them because GT has been very good as of late. I believe before this week they were at the top of East Kai after having no wins for a while, so they've been doing good. But it's just one of those things where they had a poor matchup to one of the best melee units in the league, and that can be pretty hard to prepare for. But again, props to Androids. They have a very solid team. I know 19 and Super 17, and 17 wasn't in. Ignore him.
17 wasn't.
But 19 and Super 17 have kind of been considered are they going to be good this week? Are they going to do their thing? Are we going to see an old grabs? But they've shown as of late that they deserve to be a part of the team. They are pulling their weight. They've been doing good. 16 is 16. Cell is usually Cell for the most part. And then 17 has been, he's been here, he's been there, but we don't
talk about him. We do not talk about him.
So, Androids, solid performance as always. GT, this was a rough week for you, but y'all have shown in these past other weeks that you are solid and you are a contender.
Yep.
You are a powerful team. So yeah. Also, I don't know what you did to Sin because that man was bad in the preseason. You can't change my mind. He was, but now he is good. He is one of your best characters. He's a solid 40k character or 40k plus. I don't know his average damage, but
I think that's
good on you.
45k.
Yeah, but good on you. A lot of people had doubts about him, but you turned him into something. So, good job. And that's all I've got.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I don't think GT put in a bad performance this week, even though the damage numbers weren't there. It's just, I mean, on the Boojins, we also kind of got stonewalled by Androids. They're just a tough team, especially when fighting on Glacier. It just leads to some difficulties. And, I mean, that's just kind of how it rolls. Some teams just do well on their home maps, and some teams just have strong characters. You just have to find a way around. Who knows? Maybe a lineup change, maybe this, maybe that. You never know. The tagging from Androids was a lot more than normal as well. That kind of threw off the balance of things. So a lot of factors going in, but I think overall was just an enjoyable match. Not quite the blowout, but at the same time, maybe not as close as people are hoping after that great match one. Did you guys have any final remarks then on this match here?
No.
Not for me.
Alrighty then, let's get on to match number 4, the halfway point. Royals versus Cold Kingdom.
We don't gotta talk about that. We don't gotta talk about that.
Spoofy may have limited speaking at this point due to personal biases, but we will find that out in a moment. So, starting us off, we have Third Form Frieza versus Pilaf, a key on a defense build. A little bit of a change up for Frieza off the normal defense build, but a welcome one. Frieza doing some decent work, but Pilaf really showing up this week and making Frieza tag after a few transformations. Cooler comes in and ults Pilaf. Unfortunately, it only does about 3k because he's pretty much already dead. Mecha comes in and they kind of have a nice little duel here, and even hits an ult on Cooler, but because Cooler was on the ground, it didn't do too much. Cooler tags back in Frieza, who now is at 100% power, who does end up finishing his future mecha form. Deborah comes in and finishes off Frieza, but when Cooler returns, takes him out with an 18k ult, but Cooler gets actually kind of slapped back, or doesn't take out, gets kind of slapped back by a 20k ult from Deborah, finishing what little he has off. King Cold comes in, basically hits with one key blast that finishes off Deborah. Majin Vegeta comes in and does Majin Vegeta things, taking out King Cold and narrowly taking out Raccoon to win it for Royals. So lots of back and forth, some tags, lots of ults. Certainly was a fun part of seeing these two teams. They love their ults. But it just ended up being another week of Prince Majin GG, kind of adding another GG to his name. But, you got to give it. I don't think anybody really did too bad outside of King Cold kind of getting snuffed there, but he's been one of the more problem childs on Cold Kingdom, whereas the problem child of Emperor Pilaf finally decided to show up a little bit this week. But, this was a pretty close match in the end. Both teams did quite a lot, and as you can see by the damage numbers, they both did more than what was asked of them for the 160,000 normal HP, but the healing was quite big this week. So yeah, I guess we'll move on to Donut's thoughts on this match.
As I said, very enjoyable match, very back and forth, a lot of ults thrown out, a lot of attacking, a lot of fireworks, if you will. I think it was almost a sense of like victory taken from defeat, right? For the Royals, or defeat, given when you had the game, right? It's not like Majin Vegeta was like the catalyst of saying, hey, I'm just gonna be the character y'all know and just win. I think it was King Cold and Raccoon not doing what they're supposed to. King Cold was supposed to do this heavy melee, this in your face type of thing, explosive waves, right? All that fun stuff. Raccoon was supposed to come in on Savior and ult, and we didn't see that from him. So I think it's more a case of those two choking than Majin Vegeta just dodging and throwing out B2s out the wazoo and all this, like we've known him to. If you look at him, he didn't throw out one ultimate. He threw out 8 B2s, of course, right? He didn't win any of the clashes he was in. So
he didn't win all 3 of them, actually.
No, Pilaf won all 3. Pilaf won all 3.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm looking at the stats right now. And yeah, he did 83,000, but it's not like he didn't feel like the Majin Vegeta we all know. Like, we knew he would do a lot of damage, but it didn't feel like the same type of performance. It felt more like King Cold just flying around, Raccoon just kind of standing there dancing, basically, right? His poses. On the flip side, I think the undersung hero of the match is actually Pilaf. Doing 3 B2s, catching up all of them, doing 3 clashes, winning all of them. That that performance helped them kind of get a good ball rolling, in a sense. Against I think it's Frieza he faced.
Yeah.
And that, to do 43,000 and go toe-to-toe with Frieza, is very good for Royals, right? That kind of said, hey, we'll take out one of the better characters of Cold, not have you do as much in the back half for Frieza, for Majin Vegeta. So I say Pilaf is actually the very big unsung hero. Obviously, for Cold side, Cooler, fantastic performance, 72,000. It's one of the best teams in the league. Can't really ask for much more, right? Maybe more B2s, maybe more hitting the B2s. That would be helpful for him. But 2 ults, landing them both, tag out, fantastic performance. So Spoofy, break it down for us. What do you think?
What do I think? I have
Take it away, yeah.
I have many thoughts about my match, and if you were in the Discord general chat, you heard my thoughts. But first, we start with the positives. Let's be positive. Good job, Royals. I do know from talking to the coach that they had predicted the Frieza lead and intentionally led with Pilaf with a dragon power to kind of counter Frieza, because as of late we have been using a key build clash on him for these past 4 weeks, I believe. And this just also happened to be the week where we took off dragon power. He gave to build from taking off the clash tars, and we also gave him a new AI, because of my god, Frieza, after he transformed on his old AI, did nothing, and we were tired of it. And Frieza did do better, but again, good job, Royals, for your planning. It definitely worked out this week. I'm overall pretty happy with Frieza. He did 54k, as you can see, and he did decently in third form, did good-ish in final in 100%, so good on him. But I was actually really excited for our match for Cooler versus Mecha Frieza because I was hoping that they would get paired up because they are our spammers and they are ult spammers as well. And they did ult spam, they did B2 spam, but they really said goodbye eyesight. Cooler hit 1 B2 out of 5. Mecha Frieza did not hit any of his 3 B2s. So they're kind of blind, but you know what? We're positive and it's okay. It was a good match. But what got me a little upset was King Cold and Raccoon. King Cold did 93k last week and then did nothing. This man said, I'm in the All-Star Games and I've had enough. I have had enough. Majin Vegeta, take it away. And which was pretty unfortunate. And Raccoon had a bunch of opportunities to do what he is good at and then just didn't. This man won 2 clashes, did not follow up either of them, and just took 8 B2s. Or I don't know if it was all 8 were against Raccoon, but he got hit by a bunch of B2s. Majin Vegeta did the most B2s in this 1 week than he has the entire season. Before this week, he did 6 at most, but he said, King Cold, Raccoon, it's your lucky day. It is your time. And he just... Majin Vegeta was Majin Vegeta. So it was an unfortunate event for us, but Royals did deserve their win. All of their characters pulled their weight to some extent. Maybe not Deborah. I'm gonna look at his stats real quick.
No, Deborah only did 31k. He kind of came in, finished off a character, and got finished off himself.
Yeah. But to be granted, to give Deborah some credit, he did eat a 16k ult, so he did his job. Mecha Frieza did his job. Majin Vegeta was Majin Vegeta. Pilaf was our king. I love that orange costume. So yeah, unfortunate for us at Cold, but great job. Royals, y'all deserved this win, and now I think you're tied with us.
Yes,
technically
both
ahead,
teams are 5 and 3 right now.
Yep, they're also 5 and 3. They're tied with the top of the division with Angelites.
So again, great job, Royals. I really would have appreciated had that match turned out a little bit different. Wink, wink, Raccoon and King Cold. But you know what? We are positive here, and yeah, that is my final thoughts on our match. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say the one thing I think people were hoping more from Raccoon there was it was on hyperbolic time chamber, which meant the planet couldn't be destroyed, so an ult wouldn't have mattered from him, and if he grabbed anywhere, it was always going to do damage. So I think there were some small things that made people extra disappointed in Raccoon this week, but as said, probably multiple times now, King Cold's been a little on the teeter-totter of teetering more towards the weak side, so certainly some stuff, but Metacooler's coming back. He's a powerhouse, and overall, I think both teams are still very much set and are both in very great positions. This is a non-divisional again, so they are mostly just fighting this out for the seasonal play more so than for major results, and it is a good match to kind of test some stuff on, as we saw from both teams. Do you have anything else you wanted to add then?
I'm good.
I would just say that I don't actually think King Cold's a weak link for us, despite me being a little angry with him, because on average he does do his part. He does do more than his 40k. Throughout the entire season, he's had, I believe, 2 mediocre performances. Otherwise, he's either done his 40k or a lot more than that. So while I would have appreciated a little more effort from my character, I do think he's fine. I think it was just not his day, and Royals were just on their game.
Yeah, I wouldn't say King Cold's a bad character, but he's definitely your most likely to only do his 40k, is what I mean by the weaker link. Everybody else has shown they have the ideology to do more, and King Cold this season has been a little struggling. But overall, I think your team's pretty solid all around, so that's where the terrifying aspect comes in when making predictions. So, shall we get on to match number 5 then?
I'm good.
Alrighty then, match number 5, Resurrected Warriors versus Cinema. So, Unfortunately for Resurrected Warriors, they are still stuck at the 2 wins only, but I think there was some unfortunate things that happened this match. Garlic Jr. going elite. First time for Team Cinema's history, as this is their first season, and their first elite is Garlic Jr. So, starting off the match was actually Garlic Jr. versus Early Piccolo. Early Piccolo, not a character we've seen start too often for Resurrected Warriors, since he's had Savior in the past, but a different build this time. Garlic, actually, he basically just eats his greens this week, only losing about a bar before taking out Early Piccolo. Super Saiyan and Vegeta comes in and actually takes a good beating as well and tags at 1 bar. And then 18 comes in and finally takes out Garlic after losing a bar and a half, going down, which just gave Garlic Jr. the over 1000k damage and getting him elite. So 18 tags basically instantly after taking him down, having Vegeta come back in, failing to regen to his full health on his last bar, and he gets taken out pretty quickly by Fasha, but he does do some damage back. Ader comes out, takes out Fasha. Zengaya comes in, and her poor stats are mostly due to only having 1 bar left on Ader in 18 to finish off, giving Cinema the victory. So, obviously, not having all 4 characters come out for Cinema is a little disappointing on Resurrected Warriors side, and overall, I think 18 did what she tried to do. She got some super and yielding spirits, but just couldn't quite land the big ults or the big B2s. Ader did his usual, and Vegeta still did 40k, even though he got kind of slapped by Garlic. I think it really just came down to the start was just a little too hard. Both characters, not normal starters. You don't always see Garlic Jr., though Cinema has had just about everybody starting at this point. And it, just kind of was a lead that could never be defeated. So unfortunately, not a very even match in the end. But congratulations to Cinema for not only getting the victory and holding the top spot just barely in their division, but getting a elite and their first elite in their history. So it'll be exciting to see what else comes from that. So Donut, what do you think of this match here?
Well, first off, congratulations to Cinema for the first elite. That's very impressive for them. I say, yeah, the start was really the main main
Downfall.
area you look at. Say, here's where it went wrong, guys. Early Piccolo has been struggling. I know they're trying to do a new build, have him as a starter do those rushing B2s combined with Power of Rage. It makes a lot of sense, right? Ironically, the one clash he did get it in, he actually lost that one just by facing someone without a rush boost, I believe. Yeah, and then and we're used to seeing him on the ult spam one with the special beam cannon doing the 18 to 20k ults, right? So they tried a different method of going about this. So he's been doing the B2 rushes as of late. It made a lot of sense. Didn't pan out this time. As you said, and Vegeta doing pretty well. Not bad. Ada, not terrible. 36,000, not terrible. Angel 18, I feel, is actually where the match kind of was like nail in the coffin type of time. One of the few times I've ever seen her not land a B2 or an ultimate. Not due to lack of effort, just due to, well, missing them. So that's definitely the a somewhat cause of concern there. I don't know if it's I don't think it's an AI issue. I don't think it's a build issue. It may be a matchup issue. I don't know how that worked out. But really, the tail of the match is 18 not doing what we expected to do, and Garlic Jr. going elite. That is the main focal point. Basha, obviously, did well. Zendaya, numbers look low. As I said, she was the closer. She actually did very well against 18, actually. I was surprised at how she handled 18. Doing nice ping pong combos, doing a shoot blaster. It looked pretty good. She looked okay. So, I think Cinema will be very happy with that. So that's really all I have to say on this one. 12 B2s from Garlic Jr., 7 hitting. Very impressive performance. So yeah, props to Cinema for being the elite. What do you think, Spoofy?
I think this is a similar case to GT, where GT kind of just got steamrolled due to 16 just being such a dominant force, and I feel like that's the same here with Garlic Jr. just going through and going ham on multiple members of Resurrected Warriors, including their best, which is definitely unfortunate for them. 18 has been a very, very good character for them throughout most of this entire season. And with her kind of being knocked around a little, it just means there's a lot more that the rest of the team has to pick up, especially after how early Piccolo did, which sadly is, as you can see, not the best. Early Piccolo has been he's been a character in the league. Not a good one, sadly, but I do hope that Resurrected Warriors can find something with him, because I do know that they have been trying very hard to get early Piccolo to be consistent. They've gone through multiple build ideas, multiple AIs during this season. So hopefully they will find that one thing that clicks for him. But it's definitely tough for them when they have a character like that who is kind of dragging the team down. And if there's a silver lining, Peter and Vegeta are still doing roughly almost their 40k. But again, they also had pretty tough opponents with Garlic Jr. and Asha, and I don't remember the other members who came out besides Zengaya, but they definitely had a lot on their plate to handle given the circumstance. But to Cinema's credit again, great job with Garlic Jr. He's been looking a little iffy here and there during the season, not as great as some people I think expect him to be, but they've definitely found something that works for him, and hopefully he'll be able to continue this moving on. So good job, Cinema. Y'all are doing really good for your first season. Resurrected Warriors, I hope early Piccolo becomes a character. I really do, because you guys are trying really hard, and you have working characters. 18 is great most of the time. Eater is, generally speaking, a pretty average 40k character, and Vegeta has a pretty high ceiling for how he can do. So I think y'all have a lot of potential to start rising up in the ranks. It's just a matter of, can early Piccolo take off his weighted gear and do his job? Because I feel like once you get that figured out and Videl is seemingly on the rise, you will be a much more stronger force.
Yeah, certainly a lot of growing pains on both teams, as they are both having their first official seasons with the Dragon Ball Z League. So, otherwise, do you guys have any final points to make here before moving on to match number 6?
The one thing I find interesting is there's a lot of similarities between Resurrected Warriors and DUP, who actually face next week. Both teams had the main star, 18 and Hercule, do around 25,000. They both have a very consistent character in Ada and Salza. And Vegeta has a high ceiling. Like we know, Salza or Kibito have a very high ceiling at times, right? Both have characters who are struggling, early Piccolo and Videl, Devilman and Jiro. They have very similar ones, so I'm very curious how next week, if anything will change, or if there'll be any adaptations we see to make Vegeta higher, or Salza pop off, or even Jiro, right? I'm very curious to see how that matchup goes. So they're very even, very parallel. So that's my final comment on that one.
Do you have anything to add, Spoofy? Are you guys ready for match number 6?
Yeah, I'm good. I think I got my piece said.
Alrighty then. Match number 6. And we can delve more into what you were talking about, Donut, in the predictions, but that is a little bit away. So, match number 6, the only divisional of the week, we have Namek versus Boojins. Certainly was about as intense of a match as you could get. Namek using the last bits of their Zenny on some boosts here as well. So we had Super Boo versus Late Piccolo start, Melee versus Melee. They actually boosted Late Piccolo with an attack plus, so you had attack plus 3, but they forgot to put an AI, so you had default AI this week. So actually was a decently close fight, even though Late was designed for melee, hit a lot of B2s, which allowed him to keep up with Super Boo, but Super Boo did take him out, and even on his last bar, he took one more bar off King Piccolo before finally going down. Where the real deficit began was when Evil Boo managed to kind of slap King Piccolo kind of handily, but certainly was a good match there. Nail comes in and finishes off Evil Boo. Nail tags at about 1 bar left against Majub, and Majub does the same at tagging at 1 bar left against Nuova, who had a boosted Super +1, so he had base Super +2. Nuova actually wins a B2 clash against Kid Boo, doing about 12,000 to him, and then he gets finished off by a sliver of health on Kid Boo. Nail comes in and finishes off Kid Boo. We're at basically an even match, but Majub with no healing and Nail with Eternal Life and defense build, and Majub just manages to trade B2s, but Chocolate Beam ended up beating out the Energy Wave, allowing Majub to win. So Bujin's got the victory here, although narrowly, and was certainly about as close as a match as you can ask, and for Divisional, you definitely want a close match. Being on the Bujin side, it was terrifying watching it live. It was absolutely horrifying to see the results and the misses and excuse me, and all the other just nonsense going on. That's Oasis talking crap right there. That's why I sneezed. But yeah, was certainly about intense match as you can ask, and I think both teams had people show up and kind of do what they needed to do. No real outstanding in numbers, just barely into the 50Ks on both sides. So, Donut, what do you think of the Divisional this week?
Easily the most hyped match of the week by far. I don't think anyone can really dispute that unless it's your own team, obviously. I think the match was very back and forth, very explosive. Both times I'm thinking, well, Namek has this. Well, oh, now Bujins has it off this one ult that happens, right? And I'm like, oh, well not ult, but a B2. And I'm like, oh, well, now it's Bujins just has it in the bag. And you never knew who was going to win, right? And that's always one of the most exciting types of matches, right? We are always on the edge of this. As I said, not many people are actually standing out to me when I'm looking at Evil Boo, obviously doing his usual, his 56,000. I'd say if I had to pick someone who stood out to me the most of this match, it would be Majub, hitting with every B2 he fired out, 6 of 6. And then winning one of the clashes he was in and tapping out. So overall, very solid performance from Majub. And yeah, I think this is not obviously only a big match due to divisionals and to the teams being the highest win-loss record, but just in general, the strength of the teams. Both teams showcased that this felt like it could have been a finals type of match, right? Definitely had that type of atmosphere to and hype around it. Late Piccolo, I know Oasis is kicking himself right now due to the AI issue. It does happen. It's unfortunate that it happens, but it does happen at time to time. I say he didn't do terrible, but he didn't do late Piccolo standard, right? So that's very unfortunate to see. And I think it definitely could have swayed the match in Namek's favor since it was a 1-bar win for Bujins. Other than that, I think played out pretty well. I think Kid Boo kind of didn't do what I thought he would. I kind of thought he would come in and throw ult after ult and kind of take out Nuova. I think that was who he was scheduled to face. And that didn't happen, but Nuova is a fantastic character in his own right, so it is expected. But yeah, so that's kind of overall. I thought it went very much as expected. Very tight match, very explosive, fun match to watch, and yeah, both teams look very strong. So congrats to Bujins. Alright, Spooofy, what's you got?
It was definitely a very close match. I remember I actually had to come into the stream late because I was reviewing my match because of how angry I was. But when I came in, it was around the very end with Majub versus Nail? Yeah, Nail. And I remember I came in and they immediately both backed up at like around 1 or 2 bars and both used their B2s, which was a really intense moment because you couldn't have told if Majub's Chocolate Beam or Nail's Beam Blast B2 would have hit, and that was just a really intense moment in the match that I just randomly came in on, and I think it of the match as a whole, because it was very intense. There was back and forths. There were great characters on both teams doing more than their fair share. So I will say that it is kind of unfortunate that one, Late Piccolo obviously did not have his usual AI that definitely could have changed the match, but King Piccolo not really being as great as he used to be in previous seasons. Because I do remember he used to be a very dominating force, but throughout this season, it just feels like he's very up and down throughout the weeks. And sadly, this was just one of those weeks where he didn't really get to do what he was built for in a very well, he did. He just didn't get to do it as successfully as Namek would have hoped. And is unfortunate because he is a great character. He just didn't get the room to do what he does best. But again, to Bujin's side, they performed overall very well. Kid Buu is surprisingly the one who did the least and actually didn't do his fair share. But Evil Buu, Maju, and Super Buu were sure to pick up his slack and get that W. So good job to Bujins, good job to Namek. Y'all definitely could have won that if some things had been different. So both great teams. There's a reason that they're both at the top of the league. It's very refreshing to see Namek, a team that will in some seasons struggle to keep up with others. It's very refreshing to see them at the top now. It's nice. So good job Namek, good job Bujins, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, it was sadly, you see the up arrow next to Late Piccolo, but that's because they've been having him close a fair bit and not having him finish off as much damage, so his overall is not as high. But yeah, I mean, King Piccolo maybe was hoped to do a little more. We were definitely surprised Tambourine wasn't in. We were expecting a Tambourine Super Buu melee monstrosity start, but you know, it's always hard to predict, and just like with every week, you got to throw in some stuff. And Bujins as a team, we are anti-boosts. We are terrified of changing Potara's in AI mid-season, as it will break the character and we'll never get them back and they'll be in a coma for life. So we are terrified of the risks. We are very much play it as safe as we can, get a build, and just hope if it breaks one week, it comes back the next. And this is Kid Boo's currently on the form of breaking a bit, and we're hoping that he can fix himself because, man, there's not much we can really do right now. So, did you guys have any remarks you wanted to add to that, or?
That's it for me.
That's also it for me.
Alrighty then. Let us get on to match number 7. Muscle versus Budokai. This was a hard one to predict and had a different outcome than I think most people were expecting. So, we have our second non-Royals elite, 4th elite of the season, first elite for Budokai this season in Cyborg Tao. So starting it off was actually Cyborg Tao versus Broly, spam build versus melee starting us off. Cyborg Tao actually takes out Broly and most of Bojack and then tags. 1-bar Bojack transforms and throws a couple B2s that they're not quite hitting and tags himself. So now we have Roshi and Nam. Lots of B2 spams and combos going on, but actually Roshi ends up getting taken out by Nam. Super Saiyan Trunks on his super build comes in and finishes off Nam. Cyborg Tao comes in and finishes off the last bar or so of Super Saiyan Trunks, giving him elite, and then tags. So the 1-bar Bojack is facing up against the 4-bar Goku, and Goku hits with 1B2, and that finishes the match. So Goku's stats kind of got slapped down when Cyborg Tao probably could have finished the match. Overall, this was a stomp, if you could call a match a stomp, probably one of the bigger ones we've had this season. Not even just because of the elite, but just overall, a lot of Team Muscle's players came in and just whiffed B2s, unfortunately. was a sad sight to see. I think they have a lot of characters in a really good spot, and Bojack got off multiple ults and Grand Smashers. Roshi threw out a lot of stuff. Super Trunks certainly put in the effort, but it was just a little bit too. It was just too little, too late, and the low hit rate this week just kind of got him. On the bright side, Raditz Jr., the Snowman, did survive, so they had a moral victory in the end. But unfortunately, Cyborg Tao decided not only does he not lose, but he wants to be the best there ever was. And I think he certainly showed off with that elite performance. So, Donut, how'd you feel about this match?
I said what you just said. The man can't lose, right? The man just can't lose. I think the match could have gone either way to start. It did not go how I thought it would. Not just the result. I thought Muscle may have taken it. But I was surprised at how one-sided this match actually became. I think it's one of the few times I've ever seen a total damage being under 100,000. And that was very shocking. Now, obviously, Cyborg Tao played out of his mind, right? 2 TADs, 10 B2s fired, and all 10 of them hit. When that happens, you know you're doing something right. And just really just very, very dominating from him. On the opposite side, you kind of looked at it and said, well, Broly, every time he tried to go for something, he'd always get hit with a Rush Blast, and that would knock him away. Then Tao would then combo in with a B2 or a melee combo, or grab into a B2, and this is very well fought from Tao's side, Cyber Tao's side there. Bojack, same thing. But in this case, it was more so just the miss B2s. He did so many trap shooters, and in previous weeks, those trap shooters would be ultimates, be Grand Smashers, right? And that's where he gets all his damage from. So it's like, yes, he hit 3 B2s, and that's fine. That's not bad, 50% hit rate. But all those B2s were like 2,000 to 3,000 damage, right? That's not a lot, right? In comparison to the 12,000 or 10,000 or 9,000 you'd see from a Grand Smasher, depending on character. And overall, I think if you look at any bright spot, you think it's Super Trunks. I think Super Trunks was actually pretty decent, despite not hitting with B2s. That his melee combos and ping pongs were actually pretty decent. He got behind Tao quite a bit and was able to get some melee combos for about 4,000 to 5,000. So it's not terrible. That's some high points for him. But yeah, really, you can't really say much more than just Cyber Tao, man can't lose, right? Nam came in, 61,000, fantastic performance, obviously. But kind of got outshined by Tao. And Goku coming in, doing the ult, walking away, saying, wiping the dough off his hands, saying this was easy. Also kind of ruined his stats, so kind of uncalled for a tad there by Tao, but overall, very well done by Budokai. You can tell they prepped for it, you can tell that they had a game plan going into it, and it worked to perfection. What do you think, Spooofy?
Well, as you guys have said, it was a very unfortunate week for Muscle. But I kind of want to get into their builds, because I feel like that could be a factor into why this was just such a shocking outcome. Because Team Muscle, they are a team that's very liberal with what builds they use. They like using different builds for their characters. They like that unpredictability, that versatility, which isn't bad. But it can also make it harder to see, does this character need a build change? Does this character need an AI change? Are they an issue? Did they have a bad matchup? Because if you go look at the builds this week, Trunks, for example, was on...
He was actually on a defense build. I misspoke earlier. They actually put him on the build similar to Android 13 of previous week.
Trunks was on a defense build this week. Last week, melee build. The week before that, he was on a super build. And the week before that, he was on a super build. But they were all also on the same AI. So it can be very difficult to distinguish, is this AI bad? Is the specific build an issue? Or is it just a fluke? And then if you go to Brawly, he's between, I believe, tank and melee as well. Is it the build, the AI, coincidence, or both? So I feel like that could definitely be a factor into this week, because definitely do have a very good strategy. Muscle is a strong team. It can just backfire sometimes, and I feel like this was a week where it backfired. And it also doesn't help that Bojack hasn't really been his former self. I feel like Bojack has struggled a lot this season, and thankfully this week he did try. He did throw out 6 B2s from the stats. He just didn't hit with enough of them. And I just think that it's hard to say where the true issue lies with this week and why it happened this week, due to the so many variables you have to take into consideration with so many different build changes. But again, that's not to take away from props to Budokai and their team. They did an excellent job with planning. I know they always put in a bunch of thought and effort into their lineups. They really built up their team. I know they had a lot of doubts going into this season about how strong they would be, but they've shown that with enough dedication, with enough testing, and a little bit of luck that every team needs, not just them, to be clear, that they can be a dominating force, and they showed it this week. With Cyborg Tao, I did not expect Tao to be the one to go elite from their team. I really didn't, but they made it happen. They turned Tao into a very great character alongside Kid Goku, who I don't think was in this week, but we know was a great character. And Goku, sadly, he got shafted this week. He's a good character. Most of their team, besides early Goku, are very good characters. So, good job, Budokai. Y'all definitely deserve this win. Bustle, I hope you don't have a repeat anything like this in the future, and that I may not be able to see what the issue is because I'm not on your team, but you guys definitely could, and I hope that y'all will come back even stronger next week and have a very dominating performance. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
They certainly have some flexibility both with their score of 3 and 5 in their division and with their characters. So we have seen they have, as you said, they have multiple builds for multiple people. We've seen Broly on super builds and stuff as well. So they certainly have some options to throw around and get it fixed up. They obviously just had too many changes this week that just didn't mesh together, but nevertheless, it is a risk you must take if you want to be the best. And of all the characters that got elite this week, I was much more surprised at Garlic than Cyborg Tao, but nevertheless, congratulations on that. Are you guys ready to get on to the final match of the week then? Match number 8?
Let's do it.
Alrighty then, match number 8, we have Kaiju versus Hybrids. So this match had some fun moments, cannot lie. So we had Base Sword Trunks starting for the first time against Scouter Vegeta. So kind of a key build versus a Super Plus build. And surprisingly, Trunks managed to take out Scouter quite handily. And then Bardock comes in and he got taken out by 2 15k ults. But he managed to do just enough damage that when King Vegeta came in, he did an execution beam and put down Sword Trunks. So a near elite performance by the kid, followed up by Ultimate Gohan coming in, taking out King Vegeta, even though he transformed to Ape, and Nappa. So both transformed to Ape on their final bar, both just didn't quite have enough. This ended up being a 2-man performance by Hybrids. Man, just of all the characters, you were not expecting Sword Trunks to pop off this hard, and to maybe a lesser degree, Ultimate Gohan. Future Gohan's been the main one. They had Teen Gohan in this week as well, and we didn't even get to see him on the field. So, unfortunately, the last 2 matches this week were kind of large stomps, both only doing 80k, half the amount needed to win in a match just based off the 160k life total needed. I wouldn't even say that any of the characters necessarily did bad. They kind of did what they're supposed to do. Nappa threw out an ult. Bardock did combos. Scouter tried to connect with stuff. There was a lot of good stuff here, kind of like with Muscle, but unfortunately, Hybrids players decided to just really show up in a way no one expected. And the last few weeks, they've had a lot of characters hitting this like 85, 90k number, at least one character, and this week they had 2. So a terrifying showing from Hybrids, going to 6 and 2, tied with Namek and Bujins. So I guess you could be happy that all those teams are in the same division because, hot damn. Some crazy results coming out of them. Donut, what'd you think of this match?
Definitely not the result I thought, but on hindsight, it actually makes a lot of sense. So, like I said, I don't think anyone on Kaiju, maybe Stout of Vegeta, you can argue. Um, but I don't think anyone did horribly bad. Maybe less than I think. Guys, you also throw in Bardock on that with his 15,000 there. But King Vegeta and Nappa, they did okay. I think the main problem by now was just the one was the ults. One team had 2 ults landing from Sword Trunks, the other had none landing. And then B2 usage. Not only did hybrids throw out more, they actually landed more too, right? So that helps a lot there too. Really, I think it was almost a matchup issue, because even when you think, oh, if Kaijun get the 8 forms, they'll be fine. But they did get that with Nappa, right? But Ultimate Gohan still just walked right through it using the Beam B2s and using the melee, right? Be able to get past that. The what was that? That's the power body of sorts, right? So it didn't really matter if they did. I think it was a pure matchup thing on that regards for Ultimate Gohan. In Sword Trunks, I think it was just them finding the right build for him, as well as him finding ways to get the ults, not only to get to the max power and throw them out, but also land them. So I think it was more so a sort of almost a preparation issue in regards to Sword Trunks versus Scout of Vegeta, but then a matchup issue in Ultimate Gohan versus Giant forms. More slower meleeers like Nappa and King Vegeta. I think Ultimate Gohan kind of thrives in that environment. That being said, fantastic work from hybrids on preparation. Kaiju, I know you guys have said this may be your best lineup. I think maybe, I said it could be a matchup issue, it could be a build issue. We don't know. I don't know the behind the scenes things. But I do think you have some good points in both Nappa and King Vegeta you can still look at and say, hey, we still have these two working. Maybe we fix up Scout a little bit. Maybe find a different spot for Bardock to come in. But I wouldn't worry too much. I think you guys are still a very strong team and you have a lot working for you. So Spoofy, what do you think?
Well, like I did with Muscle, I actually just looked through Kaiju's past previous build to see if they had a similar situation. And from what I can see, these are Kaiju's usual build. They're the same build, same AI, so that makes me lean towards this being more of a fluke, well, half fluke on Kaiju's part for whatever happened to their characters and their AI, and then the other half being Sword Trunks said, I'm tired of being bullied. We do not condone bullying in this league, and I will show you that I am a good character. And he did. He did 83k, as they've said. And then Ultimate Gohan just kind of came in and did Ultimate Gohan things. So it's definitely a demoralizing loss.
Of course.
It's like that with any team that happens to. But I feel like this is more, while it definitely sucks, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I feel like it is a fluke-ish week combined with hybrids being one of the best teams in the league, especially with their weakest link now showing that he's capable of getting that 83k mark. And I know that a lot of, maybe not a lot, that might be over like hyping it, but I do know that there are some people who have been on that Sword Trunks hype train, believing that he is not as bad as it's made seem, that he does have potential, and he definitely showed it this week. So hybrids, I know you put a new build on Sword Trunks. I'm glad it worked. Hopefully it works again throughout the season, or maybe just not work against me during the playoffs, but good job to y'all, Kaiju. I really do think this, I would give it another week before changing AIs and changing builds. Because y'all have done good, really good in previous weeks, so I feel like y'all should be fine with what you have now. And I just give it another week to see, okay, who's the actual issue in our team if we have one. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
I mean, most people are posting a million memes about, I'm sorry, Sword Trunks, I didn't mean it. Don't do it to me. So it's just one of those weeks where a character who was not necessarily a bad character, but definitely closer to the 35, 40 to 45k range came out and showed what he can do. Hit 2 ults and then some. It's just really that can happen with any character in this league. And as we saw with the 2 elites on characters that weren't even necessarily considered the best on their teams, just strong characters, uh, you could really get it out of anyone, and you never know what'll happen. So, yeah, it was a little unfortunate, especially being on Kaiju's home map and having the potential for massive apes. But hey, I mean, it's just the way the cookie crumbled. I think overall both teams are in great position still. And Kaiju are certainly nowhere near out of it. And this one loss is against a team that most people have been dropping to, as the 6-2 could show. So, you guys ready to get on to the power rankings for the week?
Let's do it.
Yep.
Alrighty then. The power rankings. We do not have the tier list this week, but we do have a power rankings update. So, as we can see, some stuff changed. I know we are missing the numbers, but that comes with the addition of the tier list, which, as I said, we are missing this week. Not due to anyone's fault. There's just a lot of external factors going on with forming Capsule Cast and getting it recorded in everybody's times and such, and this week just had a lot more limitations. But nevertheless, this is the more data-specific one, and certainly a little bit more true on the implications towards the league. And again, it is limited to just a snapshot in time. It is not necessarily what's going to always be, because even when teams lose, sometimes they move up if they still did well. With how crazy it went, and even Derp getting their first win, they're still just down due to their struggles, but that is now seen to not be a permanent spot for them. And Sentai Squad lost and still moved up, so there's a lot of changes going on here. A lot of goods and bads, and with how crazy this week was and the amount of stomps and just overall stranger performances, you could say, by individuals, it allowed for a lot more of movements. But at the same time, it almost seems like not many teams moved. I mean, Donut, your team moved up a bit, and
Sure.
Cold Kingdom moved down a little bit, but there's probably about a 5-point margin there. There's not much keeping these teams separate, especially within the top 10 here. It is very close.
Indeed. So as we see, Bujin still staying at the high there. Rugrats moved down slightly due to a loss, of course. Dub, even with the win, didn't move up at all. But they're still at 1-7, so it makes sense. And I think else looks about right. Budokai having that jump up from 11 to 8. So yeah, so I think that's understandable. GT falling slightly, understandable. Everything seems to be matching up very well in regards to the results to rankings. So yeah, I don't think there's anything that really jumps out at me and says, "Oh wow, look at this! Why is this a thing?" Everything seems to be very cut and dry for this week.
Yeah, so I agree with Donut with that. Nothing really seems out of place. The only thing that I would know is that for like a season-wide thing, not just this week, Muscle is lower than I thought they would be. Because during the off season, they were scary. They were definitely, for a lot of people, top 3 in the league. So it's kind of shocking to see them as more of a middle average-ish in the Spectrum team, instead of being their usual top tier self, which is a little shocking. But I would say the tier list looks pretty accurate. I can definitely see the top 5 teams being interchangeable depending on how things develop, but I can definitely see these top 5 staying in the top 5 by the end of the season. And then I can see ranks 6 through 9, or no, 6 through 10 being interchangeable. I'd usually include Muscle in that, but because I feel unsure about what the actual quote-unquote issue is with whatever character is having issues on their team, I'm not going to. I do feel that ranks 6 through 10 can be very interchangeable, and then 11 down, again, pretty interchangeable. If anything, I can see GT and Kaiju rising up to the middle ground. So yeah,
Okay.
those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of variability. As each week's shown, the numbers that have been associated on the sides have gotten closer and closer. So the variability or range has become shorter and shorter. So it is a lot easier for teams to jump up and down with each week that goes by. And it'll certainly be interesting to see the end of the season and how that pans out compared to earlier or even the middle of the season. Because, man, there's a lot of variability. Namek held the first spot for a long time, and they're still in the top 5. And you never know who's going to be where by the end.
Yep.
What do you guys want to get on to the predictions then?
Let's do it. That's why we're all here.
Yeah, only reason we're here. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah,
The
best
last
part.
hour and
Best part.
15 minutes have meant nothing.
Of course, yes.
Ooh,
Everyone's just here
that's
to
a long
prediction.
time.
Yeah, I mean, we usually hit about an hour and a half on these casts anyways.
course.
So we have week number 9, match 1, Sentai versus Androids. Certainly a spicy start, but I'll have to give it to Androids. I know it is not at Glacier, it's away, but they have just really been stepping up. And even though 17 may have been on a little iffier of a train, 19 still looks solid. Super 17 tends to hit some B2s. 16 scary. Cell still goes perfect. So there's still a lot of scary moments from them. And Sentai, not necessarily bad. And even with Salem coming in, will put up a very good fight. But I feel like Androids might just eke it out.
Obviously for me, I'll say androids. Not shocking at all. In regards to 17, he is in, obviously. He's also our worst character statistically. Not historically, though. He will be on a new AI this week, though. And this AI has shown very good promise in off-season. To the point where he was spamming about 7 B2s a match. 6 to 7 B2s a match. So hopefully that's what happened. And we'll see how that goes down. Obviously 19, my boy, he's gonna pop off. I'm hoping. So yeah, it's on Glacier, but I think we will be able to take out the.
So me, even though Sentai is in my division, I do want them to win. I feel like they've definitely shown a lot of promise throughout the season, and it would definitely be a morale booster for them to be Androids, an insanely powerful team with very strong, dominating characters in multiple different aspects. You have Super 17 with his ultimates. 17 is somewhere. Supposedly he'll be B2 heavy, ideally this week. Cell is an all-rounder and amazing in everything. 19 has his grabs, and 16 is big boy, muscle. I have attack power. So it would be a great thing for Sentai to be able to take that out. So I will go with Sentai because I have faith in the universe that Sentai, all of their hard work will come to fruition because they are a strong team. They just need it all to come together at once.
And you may be their boss as the Cold Kingdom, but you know.
I mean, yeah, but like, that is true. How they perform is kind of a reflection of me, and I kind of appreciate it if I did not. Wait, I don't want to go there, never mind. But yeah, I think Sentai will bring it. I feel like with, say, a woman coming in and potentially Birder being out, or maybe say a man being
or
out.
Jace. There's a lot of people they could fling out at this point.
They're very flexible on who they can bench.
Yeah.
So we have 2 androids, 1 Sentai for the first match. You had something else there, Spoofy?
I was just going to say that with, say, a woman coming in, I feel like if she can really pull her weight and Captain Ginyu continue being the pretty solid unit Captain Ginyu has been these past few weeks, that they can definitely pull it out. They just play it right. Their characters come together. If they just become a solid whole unit, I can definitely see them doing it. So go Sentai.
Alrighty then. So 2 androids, 1 Sentai. Moving on to match number 2, we have Rugrats versus GT. I think both teams have shown a lot of strength, but I'm going to have to give it to Rugrats. It's nothing against GT. I think with Baby coming back in, they have a very high chance. This is one of those This is a very, very close match for this week. There are a few ones that are extremely close this week and hard to decide, but I might have to just give it to Rugrats. Being on their map, there's a lot of things that they could shoot their supers into, and just overall being tiny body characters, that gives them slight advantage over a more B2 heavy team like GT. So I'm gonna have to just give it to Rugrats here.
I'm gonna agree with you on that. I think there's a lot of things that are going well for GT with Sin, with Baby coming in. I think those two will be able to do a lot of work. I think Aurelia will be back in form this week. I think Kid Trunks will be defused and will be able to pop off like we know he can. I think those two will be able to match and outdo um, the damage output that GT can do. So I'll say Rugrats.
I will actually be going with GT because next week, so after this upcoming week, Rugrats have a divisional against my team, Cold. So I feel like there's a good chance that they will be benching one of their stronger characters. I personally think it'll be Kid Trunks. And that's while Rugrats aren't dependent on Kid Trunks, he is a force, and I mean a force to be reckoned with. And with Baby coming in for GT, I feel like without an Android 16 on Rugrats, that GT can definitely pull themselves back up to how they've been previously and take it to Rugrats. Also, I don't want them to win because they are right behind my team, and I would appreciate some space in the rankings.
All right, so we have 2 for Rugrats, 1 for GT, albeit a very close match and hard one to decide. So moving on to match number 3, we have Royals versus Earth Defenders. This is another one that's just like almost impossible to predict. Both teams have been showing insanely strong performances. Both teams have been showing strong performance from all their characters. They're both very complete units, but I feel like it's going to be a little harder for Royals to pull it out here. I think Earth Defenders just don't have any singular threats. Just about everybody can pull off an incredible performance. Where a few characters in Royals, like returning Slug, tends to be a little harder to get off that due to just weaker B2s or whatnot. So I'm going to have to just give it to ED barely.
For this one, I'm very torn on this one. One, because divisional, I don't want Royals to win, obviously, but when I look at the teams, I'm like, well, you have mid Vegeta coming in, but you have Majin Vegeta, right? It's like, well, you have Pilaf and you have Yamcha. They're very identical, right, in what they can do. But I think holistically, I'll say Earth Defenders look more complete. I feel there's always like this one character that underperforms for Royals, whether it be Pilaf, whether it be Dabura, whether it be Frieza. I think there's always that one person who does under that 40k, and I don't think you can have that this week with the lineup that ED can bring. So I'll give it to Earth Defenders by less than a bar.
Oh, it's my turn. Well, it's going to be really close, and I do agree with the sentiment that half your team or 3 members of a team doing good against ED. On the other hand, Royals are a very strong team, even outside of their occasional weak moments. The rest of the team usually does pretty damn well. And this is a really hard thing because Majin Vegeta is Majin Vegeta. Dabura has been Dabura. Mecha Frieza King with Ultimates. So it is really hard. I'm gonna say ED, but I could definitely be swayed to Royals if I knew who both teams were benching, but I don't. So yeah, I'm gonna say ED.
I think the benches will be a huge factor in this, without doubt.
Yeah, certainly much more leaning ED here, but overall this is a very intense match with very hard-hitting characters on both sides. So moving on to match number 4, we have Resurrected Warriors versus Derp. Both teams have been struggling a bit, and both teams certainly lower in the ranks, but I think both have a very strong stuff. I think I might just have to hand it over to Derp, where Resurrected Warriors are looking for their stride. Derp seems to have found it in these last 3 to 4 weeks, so I think they are going to keep it going, especially with Jiro on this new build, seem to actually be more than just reasonable character, but a strong character. So overall, I think Derp might just have the slight edge here.
I kind of touched on this earlier, but the parallels between these two teams is very, very palpable. You can see that Hercule and 18 will be the same. Salza and I don't know, Ada can be the same, and Vegeta, right? Jiro can match Videl in output or early Piccolo. Both very similar in regards to what they can do, right? That being said, ever since the match with Derp and androids, where they started Jiro on the new AI, I think it was, with the Gohan AI, you started to see a shift in the dynamic of the team for Derp, and you started to see them finding more close matches, as well as finding chances of, hey, if one thing changed, you had that win. And they finally found it, so I think they'll be able to find it again this week. RW has been slipping a little bit, have been having a lot of sub 10k performances, so I think Depp will be able to take this one.
I'm gonna have to agree. I feel like Derp overall has really, hopefully, ideally, because it's only been 1 week where Jiro and Kibito have had really good performances, but I have faith in my old team. I do hope, ideally, they will continue this stride of momentum forward, but I will say that Resurrected Warriors also do have Ader, who could definitely mess up Jiro, regardless of how good this new AI and build have been doing. So if Jiro's in, if Ader's in, that could definitely be a tide swinger if they get matched up together. And if Vegeta's in, he could definitely mess up a character like Hercule, who can, from experience of working with him, can get whittled, not even whittled, just dominated by very strong melee growth. So I feel like it's very matchup dependent. I am siding with Derp, but with this one, I also think it's pretty matchup dependent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So another landslide more towards the Derp side, but I think it will be a very fun match to see. A lot of good matches starting this week off. Very hard to predict. So, and keeping with that theme, we have match number 5, Namek versus Cold. Both teams are looking incredibly strong this season. And even though both are coming off losses, they were very close losses to a degree. So within a bar at least. So it's definitely going to be a slugfest. You know, it's been very back and forth on me for a while trying to figure it out, but I might have to just give it to Namek. They have been the top of the league for a reason, and even though they lost, they had mistakes, so you could count part of that loss to just them having a little bit of a mental lapse on the planning side more so than the in-match side, especially with it coming down to half a bar. But I mean, if you were going off stats alone, that would be about it. So an incredibly close match, but I'm gonna have to give the slight edge to Namek here.
For me, I'm very torn on this one as well. It's one of those that if I knew who the benches were, then I can tell you who I think would win more confidently. But if I look at the team holistically, I'm looking at Metacoolers coming in. We still have King Cold, who's up and down, very, sometimes 90k, 80k, sometimes, he's doing 14, he's doing 23. You never know with him. I feel a lot of members matched up kind of well, like Nuova and Kula. Those two kind of do the same thing, very B2 heavy characters. And I don't expect Oasis and the squad to actually mess up on builds this week with AIs and whatnot. So I'm going to give a very slight, probably like a 1, maybe less, probably like a 1 bar win for Namek.
Wow, I'm so unbelievably hurt by both of you. I thought we were friends, but I guess not.
All right, moving on to match number.
Feels bad, man.
That's rude, but you know what? It's fine. I will be the only person here supporting Cold because I have faith in my team. But jokes aside, Namek, very understandably why people would think they would win, would win. They are a very strong team. Late Piccolo, usually one of their best. Ideally, if he's in, will be on the right AI. Everyone will be on their right builds, right AI. No shenanigans going on. I do think it'll be a very close match, and it'll be interesting to see how our characters play off, because as not Oasis, Donut said, a lot of our characters, like build wise, do match up. So I'm gonna side with Gold, obviously, but I wouldn't be upset necessarily if I lost because Namek is a very, very powerful team. But I'd appreciate it if I won because that would make my team have a higher chance of making it in the All Stars top 2. So yeah.
I mean, if Oasis is here, he would say that Cold was going to win. So you could say it's 2-2 or 2-1, but I think overall this is going to be a pretty fantastic match to watch. Moving on to match number 6, we have Muscle versus Cinema, the only divisional of this week. You might be able to guess who we're going to have as a guest, but we will find that out later. So this is going to be an incredibly close match as well. Obviously with the divisional, boosts are probably going to come out. We have Turles, one of Cinema's best guys, coming back, and Android 13, who's recently been very strong for Muscle, coming back. But I think I'm going to have to give it to Cinema. They did so well. We didn't even get to see Gogeta this past week. Fasha still had a semi-decent performance, and obviously an elite performance coming out. And most likely they're going to have Zengaya out, but I mean, it's hard to say. I think overall it's going to be a bloodbath, as a divisional should be, but I think Cinema has the advantage coming in.
Yeah, I agree. Most likely we'll be seeing Roshi out, and we'll be seeing Zengaya out, since those are sort of the weaker members for those respective teams. I would say Cinema. I think they just have more going for them, right? They got Garlic up and running. They still have Foster in the background, who we know can go toe-to-toe with some of the more melee-heavy characters on Muscle. And then we have Gogeta, who can, be the sniper with his, 12k B2s if he has to, right? He's a very strong character, and I think Muscle has a lot of question marks right now regarding builds, regarding lineups, and they've had a lot of people you don't think would struggle, like Broly and Bojack. They've been having subpar performances. So this may be the week they turn around, but I'm banking on Cinema right now.
I'm gonna have to agree with Cinema. I feel like with Muscle, they do definitely have a lot of good stuff. It's just very unpredictable what they will do, which is harder for Cinema, yeah, because they don't know. Are they gonna have a Super Plus on Trunks? Are they gonna be Melee, Tank, or Super Brawly? But I feel like Cinema has the overall consistency to handle any build changes that Muscle could throw at them, which could also backfire on Muscle. So both are pretty good teams in their own right. They're pretty strong. They have really powerful units like Fasha, Brawly. So I think it'll be a close match. I don't think it'll be one-sided at all, but I will side with Cinema here.
So big landslide for Cinema on this one, but being a divisional, anything can happen. And as I said, they will probably throw boosts into this match to try to get the advantage here, especially Cinema. I believe this is their last divisional, so they kind of don't have much else to fight for. Moving on to match number 7, we have Kaiju versus Bujins. Being a Bujin supporter, obviously I'm going to go that way, but nonetheless, it is on Kaiju's home map, so it'll be a tough one. But surprisingly, Super Buu is actually good, very good. Genocide Blast actually does 8k to Apes, so slight advantage there. But yeah, I'm giving it to my own squad here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bujins has a very good matchup into Kaiju, even if they go Ape, as you said. I don't think it'll be a help. I think maybe even a disadvantage if they do it. In some cases, I think more than one case actually. This isn't a bit of target for Evil Boo to hit, for Kid Boo to hit, right? And Kaiju has a lot of questions right now. They have a lot of questions regarding Scouter. He's up and down. Bardock, he usually does well, but he didn't do last week. What does that mean? Are you going to try to do anything fancy with him? You don't expect it, but it's possible. And Bujins just has so much firepower, right? They're one of the best teams in the league for a reason, and you expect them to show up. So I'll give it to Bujins.
All right, I will also give it to Bujins, though I would appreciate it if they lost. Just personal preference, but I do think that kind of similar with Muscle. I don't know for sure where Kaiju's issue it could have been a fluke. That's what I think. But it could also be an actual build or AI problem. I'm just not sure, and I feel like Bujins have had really good consistency. They have really good characters. Majin Buu may be coming in, but that boy is a threat. That boy is a great spammer. He's no bad weak link. No one on Bujins I would really say is a bad weak link. And even if one of their characters does slip a little, I feel confident in saying that the rest of the team will pick up that slack. Usually speaking. Yeah, because there was that whole royal situation, which was very unfortunate. But I think that was a fluke as well. So I'm going to go with Bujins for this.
Alrighty then, so we have 3-0, or as I previously said, a landslide of Bujins versus Kaiju. But it is Kaiju's home map. You never know what kind of nonsense will happen. It does have a lot of terrain. Moving on to the final match of the week, we have Hybrids versus Budokai. I think this one is unfortunately very much in Hybrid's favor, mostly due to them just being pretty much insane these last few weeks. It's almost surprising they've lost any matches with so basically nearly having elite every week on different characters nonetheless. So I think Budokai's a very strong team and they have a lot going for them, but Hybrids have just been on top of it. So they look like they might be the team to sneak out the victory, and it wouldn't be much of a sneak. It would be kind of a blowing the front door down to walk out with it. So I'm giving it to Hybrids.
I'll give it to Hybrids as well, but I'm not as confident as you are on this one. Budokai having Cyborg Tao go elite does them a lot of hope going into this match, because they got Nam and Tao working out, and they have Endoku in the back, who we know can do a lot of damage with the instant Kamehameha. But Hybrids, the past 2 weeks, has not had to use the full lineup. No, last week only 2 members, the week before was only 3 members. So they're looking very, very scary. And I don't think Budokai will have enough firepower to answer everyone on Hybrids. Because we haven't seen Team Gohan right last week, right? We didn't see Future last week, and they still looked very, very dominating. So yeah, I'll say Hybrids on this one.
I'm gonna have to agree. I do want to say Budokai, but when I think about it objectively, yes, Cyborg Cow did great. He's a great unit, and they have a lot of great other units, such as N Goku, Kid Goku, and Nam. But then you compare it to Hybrids, and they just seem, on average, among the characters, just as good, if not a little better, with higher damage ceilings, especially with just kind of seemingly, hopefully will continue to be pretty great. So Budokai definitely can. They are a strong team. I know the team puts in a lot of thought and effort into each match, but I feel like Hybrids, with just how much raw power they have in each of their characters, will take the win.
Alrighty then, so for the final match, another 3-0. A lot of these matches we may have guessed at 3-0, but as we've described, they are very close matches, and with any match, it can really go any way. Even the teams that have been winning may not always win, and the teams that have been losing does not mean they are guaranteed to lose continuously. So certainly going to be a fun week. I think week 9 will be a very intense week as well, even though it only has one divisional. Did you guys have any final remarks you wanted to say on the Capsule Cast?
I'm good for me.
This week was definitely an interesting one. A lot of back and forth matches and a lot of unexpected matches and a lot of landslides. So overall, while it wasn't the best week for my team, objectively speaking, it was entertaining. May not have been as close as some of the teams wanted, but at least it was good footage. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, apologies we couldn't get you in on a more competitive divisional week, but it's kind of just how it rolls. We're trying to get people in with some weeks work out, some don't, but still very happy to have you join us today, Spoofy.
Of course.
And Spoofy's always in general chat during the streams, at least for part of it, to check it out and talk. as many of us are. So please feel free to check out the Discord. As always, the link is down below. If there's anything like lingo or anything you're missing out, we have everything also both in the Discord and on the website. So lots of resources to get further in. Or if you just enjoy watching, please keep watching. That gives us just as much as we need. I know subscriptions don't quite work as they used to anymore, but it still helps the channel and growing and getting seen by more. With that, that has been Capsule Cast week number 8. Have a great weekend.